Welcome back to Bias Breakdown. I'm your host, Kara Rucker. Before we get into today's discussion over some of the politics in play over LA's wildfires, let me preface with this. The fires are devastating, and a lot of people on the West Coast have suffered significant loss, whether it be loved ones, homes, sentimental belongings, or livelihoods. We've been following the information closely, the number of fires and their containment levels, the death toll that continues to increase, and amount of land and structures lost. For news about the fires, we have that on our website if you need it. But for the purpose of this podcast episode, we're following the politics. Natural disasters and tragedies often become politicized because it's our community leaders who we turn to in times of need. From local officials, state leaders, and even the president. It's the media responsible for holding politicians accountable during these times. But the coverage of criticism differs depending on the news outlet. That's the focus of today's Bias Breakdown.
Join Straight Arrow News. See the slant, avoid the bias. When others skew the facts, we give you the truth down the center. Welcome to Bias Breakdown.
First, we'll break down the facts and then the political bias. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, the head of California's Water and Power Department, Janisse Quinones, and California Governor Gavin Newsom. These are the California officials currently taking the most blame for the blaze's mass destruction. Mayor Karen Bass left for a trip to Ghana on Saturday, January 4th. 2 days prior, the National Weather Service started sending warnings of critical fire conditions with strong and damaging winds, and a fire weather watch was issued. The danger level continued to be upgraded until Tuesday morning. The Palisades fire broke out. 5 hours later, the mayor was en route from Ghana and then back in LA Wednesday afternoon, according to the mayor's office. Bass's absence, paired with recent budget cuts to the LA Fire Department to the tune of $17 million, have led to headlines like these. Mayor Karen Bass faces fierce criticism for overseas trip budget cuts. With her city in flames, LA Mayor Karen Bass's political future hangs in the balance. 125,000 signed petition demanding Karen Bass resign over fire response. Some of the criticism has come from within the LA Fire Department, including the chief herself, and the owner of the Los Angeles Times saying their prior endorsement of Bass as mayor was a mistake.
Did the city of Los Angeles fail you and your department and our city?
It's my job to stand up as a chief and exactly say justifiably what the fire department needs to operate to meet the demands of the community.
Did they fail you?
Yes.
At the LA Times, we endorse Karen Bass. I think right now in front, that's a mistake, and we admit that. Maybe we should think about how we elect people.
One of the greatest hindrances for firefighters in the field is a lack of water, hooking up to fire hydrants as buildings were ablaze to find little to no water pressure. A problem the fire chief confirmed her crews kept running into: empty hydrants. 3 1-million-gallon water tanks brought in also ran dry after 17 hours, and a nearby water reservoir that holds 117 million gallons of water near the fire zone had sat empty for nearly a year before the fire broke out. The LA Water Department confirmed that reservoir is used for firefighting purposes, but was taken out of service last February to meet safe drinking water regulations. Now the state is investigating shortfalls of the department. Sitting at the head is LA Water Chief Janisse Quinones, who is now receiving criticism and headlines over the city's water woes, her salary that is double that of her predecessor, and previous remarks she made on a podcast about prioritizing equity in the city's water department. A report read LA Water Chief knew about empty reservoir, broken hydrants months before fires. Another headline highlighting her $750,000 annual salary. And Fox News, flashback, LA Water Chief says her work is guided through equity lens, with this podcast clip attached to the article.
It's been really important for the DWP to put an equity lens on everything.
Yes. Yeah, and that's the number one thing that attracted me to this role. It's important to me that everything we do it's with an equity lens and social justice and making sure that we right the wrongs that we've done in the past.
Governor Gavin Newsom has been on the ground in LA's fire zones, posting video updates on X of resources and personnel fighting some of the state's most destructive wildfires ever recorded. But with him being at the helm of leadership in the state, questions have been directed at Newsom. Telling the podcast Pod Save America, he's been trying to get answers himself and has launched a state investigation.
You're ultimately responsible as the governor of the state.
Of course. I want to know the answers. So I'm the governor of California. I want to know the answer. I've got that question. I can't tell you about how many people, what happened. My own team saying what happened. And I want to get the answers. And I'll be candid with you, I wasn't getting straight answers.
Yeah.
I watched the press conference. I met with some of those leaders. We had my team start talking to local leaders, saying what's going on. Our state.
And you weren't getting straight answers from the local leaders.
I was getting different answers.
Newsom's appearance on the podcast and that answer sparked these headlines. Newsom ripped for going on Pod Save America while LA burns. California Governor Gavin Newsom passes off wildfire response blame to local leaders' own team. California Governor Newsom deflects blame. The handful of news headlines we've shown you over criticism of the LA mayor, LA water chief, and California governor were a mix of left and right-leaning news outlets. The story is getting wide coverage no matter political leanings. But it's the way that criticism is framed from within some left and right-leaning articles that fits a political bias. Right-leaning news outlets are leaning into fire response failures as Democratic failures, while left-leaning news outlets say the criticism is being fueled by right-wing figures like President-elect Donald Trump. The Washington Post, a left-leaning outlet, wrote, as California continues to battle catastrophic wildfires, consuming entire neighborhoods and taking lives, state and local officials are also fending off President-elect Donald Trump and his allies' efforts to blame them for the destruction. Instead of offering words of sympathy or pledges of rebuilding, Trump, his billionaire ally Elon Musk, and top Republicans have spent much of the past several days blaming Democratic leadership in the state for the crisis. In contrast, Fox News, a news outlet on the right, focused on state policies. Democratic lawmakers are claiming the severity of the Los Angeles wildfires was a result of climate change, despite reports that the city's fire hydrants ran out of water and the fire department's budget was slashed just weeks before the Palisades fire destroyed thousands of homes and burned more than 15,000 acres. As the fires gained national attention, Democratic lawmakers across the country began to claim it was climate change rather than state policies that caused the disastrous fire damage. Left-leaning CNN focused again on Trump. Walls of fire devoured neighborhoods, forcing tens of thousands of residents to flee for their lives. But as a cataclysm fueled by windstorms charged swaths of Los Angeles, Donald Trump spotted an opportunity. The conceit of a state and city inflicting self-defeating environmental policies is a perfect fit for Trump's narrative that liberal governance in blue states and cities invites chaos, crime, and misery. And the Washington Examiner, a right-leaning outlet, focused again on California policy. Critics said state policies about brush and debris removal fed the fires and argued Newsom ignored years of warnings to change course and avoid the latest disaster. Some furious Californians also said Newsom's water policy left firefighters without the tools they needed to stop the crisis. The narrative matches the rhetoric offered by Newsom and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Newsom saying Trump is politicizing the fires, and DeSantis answering a question at a press conference saying Democratic policies are being overlooked by the media.
I hate to even ask this question, but the president-elect chose to attack you, blame you for this.
One can't even respond to it. I mean, it's people are literally fleeing. People have lost their lives. This guy wanted to politicize it. I have a lot of thoughts, and I know what I want to say. I won't.
It's appropriate for the president-elect or a president to be criticizing.
Is it appropriate for people in your industry to try to create division and to try to create narratives anytime these things happen? Now, you're not as interested in doing that because Newsom is a D. If Newsom was a Republican, you guys would you would have him nailed to the wall for what they're doing over there. You guys sitting in judgment of Donald Trump, I mean, excuse me, I think your track record of politicizing these things is very, very bad. Okay.
In conclusion, you have the facts of the story that both left and right outlets are reporting. From a poorly timed trip to Ghana by the mayor, fire department budget cuts, and a lack of water resources. But it's the big picture blame game that is being politicized, not just by Republican and Democratic politicians, but by left and right news outlets. Right news outlets criticizing left policies as the root of the wildfires, and news outlets on the left calling the criticism attacks from Trump and allies. And that's your bias breakdown. Thanks for watching our podcast. If you like this story, please engage, give us a like, follow, or a review on whatever platform you listen to podcasts. We're easy to find. Just search Bias Breakdown on the platform that's most convenient for you. Thanks to those of you who have been offering feedback. One of the most common comments we get is how you want more of the straight facts outside of the ones filtered by news outlets with political bias. So I wanted to start with the information of the story first, then get into the political slant from within news articles. And everything I stated, I've got sources for. I always link sources and documents inside the Bias Breakdown website article, which you can find at san.com. I appreciate your viewership and engagement. It helps us with algorithms so others can find our podcast too. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.